Alright everyone, this is Matthias from The True Evolution, and today we're going to be talking about a personal development related topic, namely anger. So, what is anger and how to deal with anger? Basically, anger is an emotional response that rises in response to the perception that you feel threatened either by something or someone. That is, anger always comes as a result of feeling threatened. Maybe we could define it as an impulse for self-preservation, and therefore a survival mechanism being triggered both mentally and physically. This involves the so-called fight and flight response, which, by the way, is very predominantly seen in the animal kingdom, but also in us human beings. But the issue, though, with anger has to do with the fact that it distances us from each other. We see this in war, rage, in politics, and heck, even in relationships. Relationships being destroyed because of anger accumulating and not being treated properly. Now, one could say that anger actually is our number one enemy in our society, and this is an issue in this kind of universe we live in, governed by the law of attraction. Because people who don't allow themselves to feel anger are caught in lower vibrational frequencies or lower vibrational states of being, that is hurt and fearfulness and so on, which, by the way, is are the lowest vibrations on the planet. You can call this powerlessness or a powerless state. Being in an utter powerless state doesn't really make any sense, nor does it serve us in terms of survival. That is why anger as an emotion covers hurt and fear. This is basically a survival mechanism that is being triggered. Also, anger is a state of resistance, which means if we operate from a state of resistance, being fear and hurt, results will not be great. That is why we have to act from a state of positive inspiration, you could say. But now you might ask, is anger a good or bad thing? Well, that's very black and white, and I think anger ain't good nor bad. It's not evil, but it just is. Anger can be used as fuel because it is making danger feel smaller and confidence seem higher. That is why you can reap the power of anger in great bursts of energy and propel yourself in whatever direction, whether it being starting a business, working out, doing something else. That's very powerful. So we talked about early on that anger also sadly has the ability to pull us from each other, to make distance between us. And you could say that it's opposing oneness and love. And quite frankly, you could say, it's the opposite of social cohesion. Now I want to give you some practical tips and tricks that you can go ahead and apply to alleviate and subside your anger. So for the most part, people tell us that we should deviate from anger, but why is that? I think that being anger underneath, we see a lower vibrational frequency, call it what you want, state of being, which is hurt and fear. Well, we tend to reject that in ourselves, and so be it in other people. That is why we hide from anger. We try to suppress it in a way, and this further out, this really generates only more problems, and it accumulates, and it's a downward going spiral. Our ego really tells us to reject the feeling of anger because we don't like to identify the anger within our own body and within our own mind, quite frankly. For example, let's say you're trying to channel the anger, for example, by playing music, by working out, by starting a business, for instance, painting. And this is all well and good, but it's not really curing the root, the essence of the problem here, which is anger itself, and underneath anger, even a lower vibration, which we call hurt and fearfulness. So it's very important to treat the root of the problem, and I'll be talking about that further now. For instance, why not sit down and take a vulnerable approach to anger, that is, confronting it directly. Don't be scared, because the only way to solve the problem is by being aware of and try to identify the anger within yourself, because it cannot survive in these circumstances of you being aware of anger itself. So try to you could write it down, because in this writing process you automatically identifies the problems because you become more aware of it, presumably. So that is a very effective way of approaching it. So do the writing work, write it down, try out, go ahead and identify the root cause of the problem. Why you're feeling angry, why are you feeling resentful towards maybe this thing or this boy or girl or whomever it can be. But the main purpose here is to really identify it, and then it'll succeed. People nowadays tend to be very secular. They look only at materialistic stuff, and they tell you not to bother about your inner works, because why bother doing that? Why not go ahead with your day? Why not just proceed with your day, doing whatever is necessary for you to generate more money, to survive, basically? Because, well, it's all about survival, presumably. But now I want to give you some very practical, step-by-step questions that you can ask yourself in order for you to identify these the anger within you. So, what do I feel threatened by? Could be your girlfriend, your boyfriend, whatever. Your spouse, your peer, whatever. And why do I feel threatened by that thing? You may ask yourself. And after, what about that hurt me? What am I really afraid of in this situation? What need do I have in this situation that is not getting met? So do that. Alright, so lastly I want to point something out. That is, if you feel angry like chronically all the time, it probably means that you feel hatred towards yourself. Maybe you better seek out some external help. Could be a coach, for instance, a therapist, or you could do a lot of digging on YouTube, personal development work and stuff like that. But let's say you want to alleviate some of your aggressiveness right now. You can listen to heavy metal music, you could take a long walk at the beach, take a shower, because water, is the antidote to fire, which is fire is aggressive. So do that. You could write it down, resolve it with a peer, with a friend, with a family member. Talk to somebody about it. Be very expressive about it, because it's all about getting it out. You can punch a punching bag? Is it called punching bag? Anyway, and run. Do something physical. You could even scream. Don't be afraid, because we hold so many morals within us through indoctrination, through our upbringing and societal issues and so on. So do that. I hope this video helped you, and I see you in the next one. Peace out.